Okay, showing a budget trailer build here. This is a 4x8 Harbor Freight trailer frame kit where I'm using this repurposed store display rack material for my sides. It's actually pretty good, pretty firm. Got the extension bars here, which are going to be for the solar panels we'll show later. But what I want to show right now is a good, solid budget landing leg arrangement for this trailer. Now, however you're going to build one of these trailers up, and I build them up for different purposes, and one of the things that I like to do is I like to be able to move these around because I have kind of limited space to deal with here. I want to be able to move it around by pushing it as a big cart. And they make little landing legs at Harbor Freight that kind of bolt onto one side or the other. They're about 40 bucks. And the balance isn't really good on that because Harbor Freight changed their trailer design several years ago to go this V-tongue arrangement instead of a solid bar across the front, at least on the heavier duty trailers. That little landing leg they had was made for the solid bar thing, and if you put it on one side or the other, it's just things aren't balanced right. And the wheel on that is kind of small, so if you're going over rough terrain or let's say, from a paved part to a non-paved part, you end up with a problem with that. So what I did was I went over to the Harbor Freight store. I got one of these pneumatic swivel casters. You kind of, it's kind of like a hand truck tire, a little knobby type thing. Bearings on here, but it's pneumatic, and I think it says 300 pounds, which is fine. It's within the range of the tongue weight on the trailer anyway. I took a solid shaft and I just welded it up here. Okay, in fact I had to undo it and re-weld it at one point just to get it kind of a, kind of symmetrical. I had that as I had put some conduit on here. I just welded the conduit to the base of this thing. I can weld cheaper than I can drill holes and use nuts and bolts. Once you own a welder, that's kind of your option. Welded another piece of conduit on here. So what it is this is permanently on. Okay, that's all permanent, and that just kind of pivots around, right? So, if this were to fall up here, it's no big deal. If we're bouncing on the road, it might be a problem, but I can have that sitting there and just run a little bungee across the top, and we're just fine. And then what I did was I cut off some other larger size conduit. I used a smaller size one here for the drawbar. And so all I got to do is lower that, kick that up there, kind of work this onto our thing, right? And wiggle it, shove it. That way, if it's taking some dents and dings and bumps, it's okay. There's a lot of little give and slop and all that. And so once this little T-bar is slid in, because you slide it in and out for the stowed position or not, then you've got this in a reasonably fixed position. So I just had this sitting up on a chair. We lower that, and now, there's a little movement and slop. It could slide to the side a little bit, no big problem. But that means at this stage I can move this trailer around just pushing it by hand. Now what I'm going to do is I'll go over to Home Depot and I'll grab a little hitch pin, clevis pin, just to drill a hole and put it through there so it doesn't back out while I'm driving down the road. I leave the extra length on there so that if this thing gets a little dented or dinged or a little warbled, I can smack it out with a hammer. It's no big deal. Or tug on it really hard with the T-handle that I made on this. But I think it's about $16 for that thing. The metal I had laying around, but 10 bucks at the most. So it's kind of hard to solve this problem for under 30 bucks, but you can solve it for under 30 bucks and have a better wheel arrangement than, let's say, the little jacky type thing that only uses a much smaller caster wheel. So with this arrangement, pushing the trailer around by hand, it's just a lot easier. And you definitely want to use a caster wheel for this so that, if you do shove it to the side, it can spin and make that directional turn. One of the issues that I have to do on this is I want to be able to turn the trailer, so we set this kind of sideways. Once it goes in a position, I just want to be able to rotate this trailer around a little bit as the sun changes position throughout the day, so that the solar panels that I plan on having mounted here will you know, have a little bit more direct light on them to give me a little bit more power throughout the day. And you know, the whole thing's still pretty mobile and economical.